everybody, Ellie here for WhoCulture, and we are back with another Ups and Downs, this time for episode 3 of The War Between the Land and the Sea. And let me tell you, I genuinely sat for about 5 minutes after the ending of that episode in utter shock, completely speechless. What just happened? We're going to get straight into that, but before we continue, I do want to tell you about an incredible offer that we have from our partners at Proton VPN. Okay, so picture the scene. A spin-off of an incredibly popular sci-fi franchise has just launched, but for some reason it's only available in the UK at first and not to the rest of the world. So that totally made up scenario sounds pretty annoying for everyone not in the land of scones and Yorkshire puddings, right? But with a VPN like Proton, you can unlock your location exclusive content wherever you are in the world. So even if you're out of the UK, maybe on holiday, you can still access BBC iPlayer and all your other content and services as though you were still at home. Proton VPN also keeps you safe online by protecting you from cyber threats and malware, and it also comes with a built-in ad blocker that prevents advertisers from using your browsing history to gather your personal data. So click the link down below or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off Proton VPN and unlock Doctor Who from anywhere in the world. Thank you so much to Proton VPN for sponsoring this video, and now let's get into the ups and downs for episode 3 of The War Between the Land and the Sea, The Deep. Okay, this episode was amazing. Spoiler alert, I really enjoyed it. And obviously we open the episode with the training of the delegates before they go down deep into the sea. This was a great little montage, but obviously there's 5 episodes, so it was good that we didn't spend too long on this training moment because there's so much that we need to get to. I think there was just enough time spent on this before we got into the more important elements of the story, which is where we come to my first up for the episode, which is a few scenes into the episode between Barclay and his family before he goes on his mission. This was a brilliant character moment for Barclay. Now, I mentioned in the ups and downs for episode 2 that it's really important that we're seeing Barclay in different situations, different circumstances, and seeing the difference in his demeanour and his personality and his confidence depending on what situation he's in. This is a really good example of that, where he's putting on this false bravado to try and stop his family from worrying, but as soon as he's given permission to let loose and just let go of everything that he's holding inside, he absolutely breaks and finally allows all that fear and anxiety that he's feeling to come crashing out. And I think Russell Tovey did an absolutely amazing job in this scene. The raw emotion that you see in him, you see him trying so hard not to break, and I just think it was a really, really powerful moment. And again, something we've been lacking in the Whoniverse more recently is these deeper character moments that really show us who these people are behind the bravado that we usually see in these situations. So I think it was a really, really powerful scene. It genuinely had me tearful. It made me tear up. It was performed so well. And it was just a really poignant moment for the character who has got to basically go and be a hero when 4 days ago he was a nobody. And seeing the impact of that on this one man who suddenly has the impossible job of saving the world. So thumbs up for that scene. Really, really loved it. So we then see the kind of beginning of this mission down into the sea. And what I really love seeing in these preparation scenes and moments is the parallels between this story and the original Sea Devils story from Jon Pertwee's era. Obviously, I think a lot of the similarities come from the fact that we're seeing navy and ships and boats and the things that would happen if you had to go into the deep sea. But because they are similar stories, it's nice seeing those visual parallels as well. Obviously, the Doctor in the Sea Devils goes into this capsule down to the depths of the Sea Devil's lair. So I like that there's those parallels there between this story and the one that inspired it. And then, of course, they get inside their capsule and they're off. They're off on their journey. And that leads me to another up for this episode because I feel like there's so much tension and seriousness in this episode. Now, there were moments of seriousness and tension in the first 2 episodes, don't get me wrong. But this episode in particular seems to elevate that even further. There's so much tension, and it does seem to have taken a step up in terms of taking itself more seriously and taking the situation more seriously. I mean, the scenes inside the capsule in particular are full of tension, full of unpredictability, and they really give off a sense of claustrophobia and unease at any given moment inside that capsule. And it genuinely made me, I was holding my breath a lot of the time. You could really feel that sense of claustrophobia that the characters were feeling. And then in terms of the characters, you've got all these different people, different types of people, all trying to deal with their own stress and anxiety and fear in different ways. And it's really interesting to observe how the different characters deal with this situation, depending on who they are as characters, what their professions are, and what happens when they're put in this unprecedented situation where anybody would be scared. But who are the people that show that fear outwardly, and who are those people that use humor? Who are those people that use their authority to mask their fear? It was a really interesting character study, seeing these people forced into this enclosed space in this unprecedented situation and how they all respond to that situation. And I think the thing is as well, and I think the reason that this episode in particular feels that much better, is that for any television program, any film, if the creatives want us as an audience to suspend our disbelief and immerse ourselves within this make-believe world and scenario that they're creating, then first and foremost, they need to take it seriously. If they want us to take it seriously and suspend our disbelief, then they have to take it seriously as well. And I feel like you can really see that in this episode. You know, the quips are gone, the jokes are gone. It's a high-stakes situation, and it's sold to us through the music, through the cinematography, through the dialogue. We're not messing around anymore. This is serious, and we're fully immersed in that serious situation. We are committed and what's the word I'm looking for? I always forget the words I'm looking for when I'm deep in my point. We are invested in this situation because it's been taken seriously. And another scene that really proves this point and also deserves an up is the scenes with the politicians. The first scene with Kate in the room of politicians, and then the scene afterwards when Kate is gone and we still have those corrupt politicians in the ear of the Prime Minister. This is a scene that could very easily be turned into a joke. I mean, the politicians are in a room talking about how to defend the Earth from aliens that live under the sea. There is a scenario in which this scene is written to be quite comical, where the politicians are kind of laughing at the fact that this is what we are now discussing in our cabinet meetings. We are now discussing how to protect the Earth from monsters. But instead, these scenes are treated with utter grounded realness, to the point where we as an audience entirely forget that the whole situation they're talking about is completely fictional and there aren't really such things as sea devils and Homo aqua and whatever. We're invested in this scene and it's tense and there are high stakes involved and you really feel what the characters are feeling. I mean, we as an audience relate mostly to Kate. You know, sadly, this scenario in which we have politicians discussing things that really shouldn't be down to just them to decide. Also, you have corrupt politicians in the ear of the leader. It feels like a very sadly believable scenario in the day that we live in. It feels quite accurate potentially to what really does happen behind closed doors. And so we as an audience are triggered by that and by the fact that Kate is trying to make a difference and isn't being heard. The tension is building in the scene. We're getting more annoyed. She's getting more annoyed. It's just such a good example of how these scenes can really grip us as an audience. You know, gone are the scenes that we saw in The Reality War, where you had a gazillion characters all stood around listening to one character talk and nothing of note really happening. They're all just waiting for their turn to speak. This scene is 3 people talking, or 4 people, depending on which scene we're talking about, but this is a scene where there are people talking, but the framing of it tells a story. You know, you've got this politician, this kind of weak leader with 2 corrupt politicians in his ear, but the way that it's framed really shows that he's surrounded by these people in his ear, and the whole framing of the darkness that kind of shadows in that, it tells a story. So in amongst these scenes, after the scenes with the politicians, and obviously in amongst the scenes inside the capsule, we do have a few brief moments with Kate and Ibrahim. And this is more like what I was hoping we'd see with these characters, if I'm being honest. We'll put the last scene aside for now because that is completely not the point. But the scenes that we had before then are more what I was looking for when I was trying to explain what I feel that relationship is more about. Less about the physical, more about the acts of service, which show Kate that there's someone watching her back. I literally said in the last discussion, in the last ups and downs, he should just bring her a cup of tea And what does he do in this episode? He brings her some coffee, he gives her some food, he's taking care of her because he knows that she's not taking care of herself. Because he knows that she's got so much on her plate that someone needs to come and make sure that she is doing okay. These were the scenes that I was hoping for that we'd see with these characters a bit more. If anything, I'd like to see more moments like this to really help us get on board with this relationship a little bit more. But it was nice to see these softer moments between them that weren't just about the physical and were more about what it really means that she's got somebody there who's trying to look out for her. Then, of course, we do get to the last scene where he, again, is completely not reading the room. And it's like, dude, she's making sense here. And all you can think about is if you need to keep your relationship secret. Read the room, time and place. This is not it. I was kind of screaming at this point, going, shush, make her a cup of tea. Don't push her right now. She's very busy, very stressed, and you're not helping. Then, of course, spoiler alert, he commits the biggest act of service you possibly can and literally dies for her. So, I mean, we'll get to that bit. We'll get to that. So we do eventually get to the bottom of the ocean and we see for the first time what the Homo Aqua world looks like. Taken up. I was really impressed with this. I was curious as to how this was going to look. I did mention in the last Ups and Downs that I'd watched the kind of re-edited version of the Sea Devils in anticipation for this, in the build-up to this, and obviously they just kind of have their standing sets, but they did have their kind of underwater lair. So I was curious how they were going to do that here. And what I really loved about this set in particular was that it was a really good balance of physical set and CGI. It didn't look like a really obvious green screen, but it also used VFX to enhance the environment, and you know, the ceiling that wasn't really a ceiling looked really beautiful. I loved the use of the kind of luminescent life forms. You know, they literally say, how is their light? And the kind of the hues of blue. I think it looked really good, and I like that it kind of had that kind of underwater vibe to it, like you were walking through kind of underwater caves or tunnels. It kind of did give a vibe of kind of RTD1 kind of Doctor Who. It was a standing set, but at the same time there was use of the VFX as well. I really enjoyed it, and I know that I had an issue a bit with the big fish in episode 1, but what I actually really liked here as well is the fact that they're walking through and you have all those big fish looking at them through the, I assume, windows of sorts. And what I like about that is it was like the tables had turned, and where they were in a big tank with everybody looking at them, it was now our turn to be walking and have people looking in on us and observing us as if we were the animals and we were the outsiders. So I really liked that they'd flipped that round and gave us a taste of our own medicine in a sense. So yeah, I was actually quite impressed with the underwater lair. Maybe it could have been a little bit more impressive and grand, but I kind of liked that it wasn't. It kind of felt, you know, a bit more like that kind of grounded Doctor Who, and yeah, I liked it. We do have a bit of a weird moment where Salt and Barclay are separated from everybody else. I'm sorry, I'm so distracted. There is something in my eye and it's been there the whole time and I can't get it out. Salt and Barclay get separated from everybody else, and we do have a kind of weird interaction between the characters here that felt a little bit awkward to watch, not gonna lie, and I'm gonna get to that in a second. I just had one thing to note out, because obviously she touches his face and then he very cringily asks if he can touch her, which was a bit weird. But then he doesn't remove his glove. And she's like, what do you feel? Nothing. I have gloves on. Why would you not remove your gloves? Like, that just seems so strange to me. Can I touch you? But I won't actually be able to feel anything because I can't be bothered to remove my gloves. Barclay, what are you doing? But yes, as I say, this scene did feel a little bit odd, and it does bring me to my first down for the episode, which is a continuation of a down from the previous episode, and it's still the pacing. It's a very odd one with this because it both feels rushed and dragged out at the same time. It's very strange. I mean, for example, these scenes with Barclay and Salt. We've gone from 0 to 60 in no time at all, where they've met a handful of times in literally like a diplomatic meeting environment, never one-to-one, and suddenly they are acting in this very intimate way, and it feels like we've missed a section, we've missed a chunk, because we've not really spent much time with these characters to suddenly have this established connection between them that is this intimate. And yet, when you look at this episode as a whole, 3/4 of this episode is spent in a tank with these people just making their way down to the bottom of the ocean. So it feels like the kind of pacing and how the scenes are spread out, or where the focus is and isn't quite right. Likewise with the relationship with Kate and Ibrahim, you know, obviously feel about that as you do, whatever you want to feel about it. But the point is that we've kind of slightly established it in Doctor Who, but within 3 episodes of this, we're expected to be invested in this relationship. But episode 1, we barely saw the characters. They appeared quite late on in the episode, and then it was very much just business as usual. Episode 2, we had that one scene that was, again, 0 to 60 in next to no time, and we had no build up to it. And then in this episode, it felt like they kind of tried to force a few more scenes in there to kind of get us invested in this relationship. But we didn't spend that much time with them to really feel that loss as much as we could have. Whereas we probably could have cut down some of the scenes inside the capsule. You know, once you've seen the different reactions from the characters, for as great as those scenes were for building up the tension and some of those quieter character moments, some of that time could have been better used elsewhere to help us establish these relationships that we're supposed to be invested in maybe a little bit more. So yeah, my one criticism of this episode is similar to the last ones. The pacing still feels slightly off. And it's weird because for Doctor Who, the criticism was always that things felt rushed. And I think the same thing is kind of here, in as much as you don't have that many episodes. So you've got some things that feel rushed and like you haven't spent enough time with them to be invested in. While some of the criticism we also had for Doctor Who is that we didn't have a lot of quieter moments of conversation and character time. And we're having a lot of that here, but it almost feels like they've gone too far with that and not far enough with the character development, the relationships, the things that we're supposed to be invested in. I don't know. Maybe no one else had an issue with it, but I do still feel like there are some things that feel rushed and some things that feel dragged out. Taken up for that ending. Oh my good golly. I said I wanted a shock, and by golly did I get one. Oh my. I have not had such an animated response to something in the Whoniverse for such a long time, and this just completely took me by surprise. I mean, this was by far the best moment in the series so far. There was tension, there was action, there was drama, there was a twist. There's always a twist, and let's not go there. And it's funny because although I'd had said literally in the discussion for episode 1 and 2 that I was slightly concerned that either Kate or Ibrahim was not going to survive to the end, even though I kind of saw that coming, it still took me completely by surprise because I did not see it coming this soon. I thought maybe in episode 5 we might have some sort of sacrifice going on, but I did not expect it to be happening at the end of episode 3. That completely shocked me. And then of course we have this cliffhanger as well after that. It's always good to end mid-series episodes with a cliffhanger to keep people engaged, keep people wanting to come back for more. You know, people might have watched the first few episodes out of curiosity, but you want to keep them watching. So this was a great way to end the episode. And the thing that really, really made this work, and also deserves an up, is the character of Ted Campbell. He sent me on such a roller coaster throughout this episode. Honestly, when he first arrived, when we first saw him in that scene, I wrote down, I don't trust him. I was like, I'm suspicious of you, I don't trust you. But then we had the scenes inside the capsule where it kind of made sense and it started to unfold that the kind of false bravado was just his coping mechanism because he was terrified just like everybody else. And that was his way of dealing with it, whereas others use different forms to kind of express their anxiety or their fear. And so then I kind of was like, oh, actually, he's just hiding behind humor and bravado because he's scared. He's just scared like everybody else. Oh, it's okay, I do trust him. He's all right, actually, and he's trying to, you know, make everybody else feel better. And look, he's even got a globe. He's got a globe to give to the Homo Aqua because, and I love that idea of they've never seen the Earth from above. Like, that was like a really nice gesture. Yeah, this is great. And all of my suspicions completely evaporated by that scene. Just for it to be the rug to be pulled from under me with that final twist ending that he actually was wrong in the whole time and my instincts were correct to start with and I shouldn't have questioned myself. But honestly, that just goes to show how great a performance we got from William Gaminara. Absolutely fantastic performance. And the brilliant writing from Pete McTighe. to completely send us on that roller coaster, to keep us questioning, do I trust him? Do I not trust him? To get us on board, to make us trust the character just to pull the rug out from under us. Honestly, I was literally watching like this. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was happening. Absolutely fantastic. They had me fooled. That was really, really, really well done because I did not see that coming at all. And none of this would have been as epic and amazing, in fact, that entire episode, without, you guessed it, another up for Mr. Lorne Balfe. Oh, wow. Now, I know I've upped Lorne Balfe's music in every episode so far. This episode in particular, he absolutely cooked. This episode, every scene was elevated by the music. Right from the opening, that epicness that I was talking about, you could feel that from the music that was accompanying what we were seeing. It really felt serious and grounded and real, and the music really helped with that, absolutely. But most importantly, the final scene was elevated by the music immensely. So let's put it like this, right? A lot of people have issue with the Kate and Ibrahim relationship. Lots of people were not invested in that relationship, did not like it. And quite honestly, we didn't really spend enough time with Ibrahim as a character to really feel that deeper connection to him. Now, Kate, it's a bit different. We've known Kate for a long time. We've spent more time with her as a character. But Ibrahim is a character that we probably should have spent more time with to make this scene more impactful. So you might not have really felt much in terms of, well, we don't know that character, bye. But I bet you all felt something watching this scene of him dying. And you know why you all felt something watching this scene, despite the fact that you might not really have cared for the character? Because of the music. Music is vital to emotional scenes like this. It's so important. Without the music, this scene would not have been as powerful as it was. And yes, the performance from Gemma Redgrave and Kate's reaction obviously triggers something in you as well. But again, the music wasn't there. Would it have been as impactful? I don't think it would have. It was so beautiful. It made me cry. And again, not because I was necessarily as sad about what was happening, but because the music triggered something in me, that emotional response. And then it also weaves so nicely from that emotional music to that build-up of tension again, because we build up towards the cliffhanger. It was just so beautifully done. Beautiful music, elevated the scene immensely. But in the entire episode, the music was just perfect. So good. So good. I mean, overall, what is there left to say, really? This was by far the best episode of the series so far. I absolutely loved this episode. I said I wanted something to shock me, and this absolutely shocked me. Even though I saw those things coming, I didn't see them coming in that way. And I definitely didn't see that twist with Ted at the end. I did not see that coming at all. Really, really got me. There was tension, there was drama, there was a twist, there was action. It just had everything it needed to. Most importantly, it was serious. It took itself seriously. And therefore, I took it seriously. And as I mentioned earlier, I have not had such an animated response to something in the Whoniverse for a long time. And it made me feel so happy that I was reacting like this again to something within the world of Doctor Who, like I would have done in the past. Oh, I just hope it continues like this. But of course, did you really have to kill Colonel Sexy? Did you have to kill Colonel Sexy? Obviously, it's going to have a big impact on Kate moving forward, and I'm excited to see where this is going to lead for her character, but I think we should probably end this video just with a moment's silence for Colonel Sexy. We hardly knew you, but we're sure as hell going to miss you.